Only with this way of practice, i.e. in other teachings and disciplines, in other systems, individuals at these four stages are not to be found. All this shows that the person who is to develop mindfulness of breathing is one who aims at making an end of suffering by way of this teaching and discipline. Such a person must equip himself by way of study and practice, as will be further explained. We now go on to consider what the texts tell us about developing mindfulness of breathing. On this subject, we have as our authority the words of the Buddha himself. The standard source is the Anapanasati Sutta, the discourse on mindfulness of breathing. Found in the third section of the Majjhima Nikaya, discourse number 118, the subject is referred to in many other places in the Tipitaka besides this. Essentially, the description is everywhere the same, though in non-essential details it varies somewhat according to the situation. We shall take as our basis for practice the Anapanasati Sutta itself, which deals specifically with the development of mindfulness of breathing, including the ultimate fruit of the practice. This discourse of the Buddha begins like this: Now, bhikkhus, a bhikkhu in this Dhamma and discipline, having gone to the forest, to the foot of a tree, or to an empty house, sits down cross-legged with body erect, and firmly establishes mindfulness. Mindfully he breathes in, mindfully he breathes out. The Buddha then goes on to explain how to contemplate in and out breathing and everything that manifests in the course of breathing in and out. He explains all the 16 stages, in 4 sets of 4. Then in the succeeding sections he goes on to explain the benefits that arise out of this. He explains how the practice gives rise to the 4 foundations of mindfulness, satipana, and the 7 factors of enlightenment, bojjhanga, kama, collectively and individually, and finally how it gives rise to knowledge and freedom, vijjivamukti, kama,
which is the complete cessation of suffering. To clarify our understanding of the subject, we shall take these words of the Buddha and consider them in order, section by section, explaining each step as required. 1. Consider the opening phrase, now, bhikkhus, a bhikkhu in this Dhamma and discipline. This has already been explained in answering the question who should develop mindfulness of breathing. These words refer to any seeker who intends to practice seriously according to the Buddha's teaching. 2. Having gone to the forest. This needs a detailed explanation. The meditator should go to the forest mainly in order to get away from his accustomed environment. Here an analogy is in order. When a farmer sees a calf sufficiently grown to be suitable for training, he separates it from its mother and leads it away to a place apart. There he fastens it until it forgets its mother and its habit of being near her. He then trains it or does with it whatever else he wishes. When the calf is tied up away from its mother, it cries and struggles in every way. But in time, being unable to break loose, it gives up struggling and goes to sleep next to the post. The mind is just like the calf. It may be trained in this way or that. Its habituation to worldly objects corresponds to the calves clinging to the mother cow. Or, taking it another way, the environment full of attractive and tempting objects is the cow and the meditator about to embark on the practices. The calf, going to the forest, corresponds to the separation of the calf from its mother. We may think of the Buddha as a person skilled in surveying and apportioning land. He has recommended the forest as suitable for anyone intending to undertake mental development. Here is another simile given by the Buddha: as a tiger, go and hide, waiting to catch the prey. Only then will you catch something and it will be easy to catch. Here the prey is the path and fruit.
And the tiger is the monk who is ready to strive earnestly to develop his mind. According to the books of the discipline, Vinayapiyaka, the word forest refers to a place at least 500 bow lengths away from the nearest village, but the meditator may take the word forest as meaning any place away from the usual tempting environment. The recommended distance of 500 bow lengths is a good guide in any case. In the discourse, forest refers to a clearing in the jungle or a habitable grove. Later teachers commented that one should go in summer to the forest or to an open, airy region. In the winter to the foot of a tree or to a thick forest, and in the rainy season to a cave or overhanging rock that protects from the rain. At some places in the Pali literature it has been further pointed out that in summer it is more comfortable to spend the day in the forest and the night in the open, while in winter it is better to spend the day in the open and the night in the forest. But the Buddha himself generally mentions only 3 kinds of place: the forest, the foot of a tree, or an empty house. It seems that later teachers, seeing this list of 3 kinds of place, prescribed them for the 3 seasons. The meditator should note what kind of place is suitable, having in mind only that it should be a forest in the sense of a place of solitude, free from disturbance by worldly objects and conducive to physical detachment, kaya viveka. That is what is required. 3. Sits down cross-legged. Here we must consider why the sitting posture is to be used and just what is meant by sitting cross-legged. The sitting posture is the most suitable one for meditation, because it enables one to give one's whole attention to the practice. There is no danger of stumbling as in the posture of standing, and it is not conducive to sleep or any other unprofitable condition, as is the posture of lying.
For these reasons, the sitting posture has been used since time immemorial. Other arguments in favor of sitting have been given in the section on character types. It does not follow, of course, that the meditator has to remain seated without ever changing his posture. Nor is it implied that concentration cannot be developed in other postures. The term cross-legged indicates a firm and balanced posture that can support the body easily and conveniently and is comfortable, insofar as it permits proper circulation of blood and air. The right way to sit cross-legged is as follows: lower the body into a sitting position and stretch both legs out in front. Bend the left knee so that the sole of the left foot comes to be under the right thigh. And then lift and bend the right leg and place the right foot on the left thigh. Place the hands one on the other. This is called the half lotus posture. If the left foot is then lifted and placed on the right thigh, there becomes the still more stable full lotus posture or padmasana. In Thailand, it is called Nangkat Samadhi Phet, the diamond samadhi posture. It is to this cross-legged posture that the sutta refers. Whether or not the meditator has difficulty sitting in this posture will depend very much on the culture in which he was born and reared. He must in any case make an effort and train himself to it. No other posture will yield the same results. He may sit otherwise only if really necessary, as for instance through illness or physical disability. For a normal person, it is highly desirable to make an effort to become accustomed to the lotus postures, even if it requires long training. The Chinese call this asana the Indian posture because the Chinese normally use chairs. But for anyone who wishes to practice meditation, the Indian posture is essential, as is attested by Chinese Buddhist literature dating back over 1,000 years. So no one should introduce any variation in the posture of meditation.
That anyone can train himself to sit in the proper way has been proved. 4. With body erect. This means simply sitting up straight. The word erect indicates that the spine is to be kept as straight as if it were reinforced with a straight iron rod. It is desirable that all the vertebrae of the spine should fit in perfectly with one another in order that blood and air may circulate naturally, a most desirable condition under the circumstances. Unpleasant feelings arising from obstruction of the circulation of blood and air will thus be minimized. Physically, these are the benefits aimed at. Mentally, the aim is to make the mind upright also, preventing it from tending to left or right, forwards or backwards, preventing it from inclining to indulgence in either sense pleasures or self-mortification, and so on. It should be noted here that one who can do this well will keep his body straight at all times, no matter whether his eyes are open or shut, and even when the mind is in deep meditation and so not consciously controlling the body. 5. Firmly establishes mindfulness. Satim parimukam pahapet, usually translated, establishes mindfulness in front of him. This refers to mindfulness, which is firmly established on the object, here the breathing. It may be paraphrased as making the mind one-pointed on the breathing, meaning that the mind is exclusively aware of and concentrated on the breathing. The mind is simply fixed on its object, as yet no knowledge, is present, the mind being only in the very beginning stage of concentration. Essentially, then, the words quoted mean, he directs his whole attention, his entire awareness, towards the breathing. The meditator need not necessarily keep his eyes shut. He can practice with eyes open by fixing his gaze at the tip of the nose until he sees nothing else.
Provided he has strong willpower, he will have no difficulty practicing in this way. even if the eyes are open and the meditator is gazing at the tip of his nose. The mind does not become focused there because it is aimed at the breathing, following the breathing alone. It is more difficult to practice with eyes open than with them shut. It demands a great deal of effort in the beginning, but this is compensated for by the fact that the meditator is less likely to become sleepy and in the end has stronger willpower and a better ability to establish mindfulness firmly. Anyone who is determined to practice solidly and become a perfect meditator is advised to begin practicing with eyes open. 6. Mindfully he breathes. Here the key word is mindfully. The meditator has to be mindful of breathing in and out. As long as he has his mind focused on the in and out breathing, he is what is called a satakari, one who is exercising mindfulness. The outgoing breath is called ana, the incoming breath apana. These two words, combined in accordance with the phonetic rules, form the compound anapana, meaning breathing in and out. Mindfulness fixed on out-breath and in-breath is called anapanasati. One who is exercising this kind of mindfulness is called a satakari.